Good evening. I want to start with a story. A few years ago, a young woman stood on a stage not unlike this one, her hands trembling slightly as she looked out at the crowd. She had achieved something remarkable, launched a successful business from the ground up after years of rejection, betrayal, and ridicule. And as she spoke, she didn't name those who laughed at her or the ones who told her she wasn't good enough. But we all knew they were there, not in the room, but in the story, in the fuel that drove her, and in the silence that followed her success. That silence, that absence of bitterness, is what struck me most. Because the best revenge to people who hurt you is not to hurt them back. It's not to show them you're stronger. It's not even to prove them wrong. The best revenge is to live in a way that renders their cruelty irrelevant. Let's explore what that actually means. Revenge feels good for a moment. It gives us a surge of righteousness, a feeling that we're taking back control. But it's a cheap fuel, it burns hot, and it burns out fast. And when it's gone, we're often left with the very same emptiness that made us hurt in the first place. Hurt people hurt people. You've heard that. But it's also true that healed people heal people. And choosing to heal rather than retaliate is the first step toward freedom. The people who tried to hold you down don't matter as much as the people you're going to lift up. That shift in focus from them to your purpose is everything. If you really want to make a statement to the ones who tried to break you, you don't do it by shouting back. You do it by building a life they can no longer access or influence. Revenge is reactive. Growth is proactive. One traps you in the past, the other launches you into the future. You take the pain, the betrayal, the humiliation, and instead of making it your identity, you make it your curriculum. You learn, you adapt, you evolve, not because of them, but in spite of them. The irony is this: when you truly grow, you no longer care about revenge. You're too busy creating, too busy becoming, and that is the moment when you've already won. When someone hurts us, the natural response is to harden, to close up, to become cynical, but that plays right into their hands, because if someone's goal is to bring you down, and they succeed in making you cold and bitter, they've already won. But when you choose to stay kind, not naive, not a doormat, but kind, you remain in control. You choose the terms of your emotional response. You live with integrity. The strongest people I've ever met have walked through hell with open hearts. They're the ones who faced betrayal but chose not to mirror it. They let the fire refine them, not consume them. That is not weakness. That is power matured. Success doesn't mean money, titles, or status. Success means peace, purpose, progress. When people hurt you, they expect one of two outcomes. Either you retaliate and become like them, or you shrink and become less than you were. But what if you chose a third option? What if you became more? What if you grew in wisdom, in character, in discipline? What if you turned the pain into art, the betrayal into insight, the failure into strength? There is no revenge more complete than building a life of meaning. One where their actions no longer define you. One where their opinions don't even register. One where you look around at the people you've impacted, the lives you've touched, the dignity you've preserved, and realize they never had that power over you to begin with. Your life tells the story, let it be a masterpiece. I want to clarify something important. Letting go of the need for revenge does not mean condoning what happened. It doesn't mean saying what they did was okay. It means refusing to carry their actions into your future. It's like putting down a heavy stone so you can run faster. You can't run your race carrying the weight of resentment. Letting go is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's acknowledging that your time, your energy, your focus is too valuable to be spent on someone who already chose to walk out of integrity. You don't have to get even. You just have to get clear. Clear on who you are, clear on where you're going, and clear on the fact that their story is not your ending. The beautiful paradox is this: when you overcome hurt with purpose, you become a lighthouse for others who are still in the storm. You're not just rising above, you're reaching back. Your healing helps others believe in theirs. Your forgiveness creates a ripple effect. Your strength, real strength, the kind that forgives but doesn't forget, that learns but doesn't retaliate, that strength reshapes culture. You become a story worth telling, not because of what happened to you, but because of how you responded, because of what you became. Anyone can clap back, post a subtweet, drop a quote to throw shade. But legacy is quieter than that. Legacy doesn't make noise, it makes impact. You know you've won when your peace is louder than their chaos, when your progress is more compelling than their judgment. When people remember how you rose, not how they tried to hold you down. And here's the truth: people are watching, not just your critics, but the ones who will follow your example. The way you handle pain teaches others how to do the same. So make your life the proof that hurt doesn't have to define us, that we can choose to build, to rise, to love again, and that revenge, it was never the goal. Wholeness was. I leave you with this: don't waste your energy trying to show them who you are. Become who you are. Let your story be so full of purpose, so marked by grace and growth, that even your enemies would have to admit they couldn't stop you. And maybe, just maybe, your example will be the thing that leads them to change. But even if it doesn't, you will have lived well, and in the end, that is the best revenge. Revenge is a tempting idea. When someone wrongs us, hurts us, betrays us, undermines us, there's a natural pull toward wanting them to feel what we felt. We think, if they suffer like I did, justice will be served. But here's the deeper truth: retaliation doesn't fix anything. It doesn't restore your dignity. It doesn't erase what happened. It only binds you to the very pain you're trying to escape. The best revenge is not to fight back, but to move forward. It's to build a life so grounded, so full of meaning, that the people who hurt you lose all power over your narrative. When you live well, when you live with purpose and alignment, you redefine the terms of the story. You stop being the victim and become the author. The people who caused your pain may still exist in the background, but they no longer set the tone. They are footnotes, not headlines, and that shift changes everything. Because now, your energy isn't being spent on plotting how to get even. It's being invested in building something better. Your time is no longer about them. It's about you, your healing, your goals, your growth. Living well is not about showing off. It's not about posting curated success online so they'll see it and feel regret. That kind of performance is still rooted in their opinion. True living well is when you no longer care if they're watching. When you reach a place where their name doesn't spark emotion, their voice doesn't echo in your mind, and their judgment doesn't shape your choices, that's when you've won. Because the real goal is peace. It's waking up and knowing you are proud of who you've become. It's living without the weight of resentment or the pressure to prove anything. It's loving yourself enough to let the past be the past and to walk into the future with your head held high. The best revenge is a life where your joy is authentic, your work is meaningful, and your relationships are healthy. It's when your days are driven by vision, not bitterness. It's when your success is measured not just in what you achieve, but in who you become in the process. And ironically, that's the kind of life that often speaks louder than any words or confrontation ever could. So when people hurt you, don't waste your time trying to make them feel small. Spend your time becoming great, not for them, but for you. Not out of spite, but out of purpose. That is the best revenge, and it's the kind that truly lasts. Pain changes people. When we're hurt, especially by those we trusted, the first instinct is to react. We want to push back, to prove a point, to make them feel the weight of what they did. But pain, while powerful, doesn't have to turn into bitterness or revenge. It can become something else entirely. If we choose it, pain can become a powerful catalyst for growth. The difference between revenge and growth lies in intention. Revenge is about looking back, about staying emotionally tethered to the person who caused the pain. It's reactive, focused on the past. Growth, on the other hand, is forward, looking. It takes the lessons from pain and uses them to build strength, clarity, and wisdom. Instead of being consumed by the hurt, you're transformed by it. You become more resilient, more thoughtful, more grounded, and that transformation, not the act of getting even, is where real power lies. When we grow in response to pain, we take ownership of our story. We stop waiting for an apology to begin healing. We stop giving the person who hurt us free rent in our minds. Growth means stepping out of the identity of victimhood and into the role of a creator, someone who builds something meaningful from what was broken. This doesn't mean we ignore the pain or pretend it didn't matter. It means we allow the pain to teach us. Maybe it teaches us better boundaries. Maybe it helps us see through manipulation more clearly. Maybe it wakes us up to the fact that our value was never defined by how someone else treated us. Growth asks harder questions than revenge ever does. What can I learn from this? How can I become stronger without losing my compassion? What kind of person do I want to be on the other side of this? These are the questions that shape character. They move us from simply reacting to intentionally becoming. And in the long run, the people who rise above, not because they were spared pain, but because they transformed through it, are the ones who lead, inspire, and create real change. Choosing growth over revenge also protects your peace. Retaliation might bring momentary satisfaction, but it keeps you emotionally invested in the person who hurt you. That's a heavy cost. Growth sets you free. It shifts your attention back to your purpose, your values, your future. And it gives you back your power, not by defeating the other person, but by refusing to let them define you. In the end, revenge is small. It's about getting even. Growth is expansive. It's about becoming more. And when you look back, it won't be the moment you got even that you're proud of. It will be the moment you chose to rise. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood choices we face after being hurt. To many, it feels like surrender, like weakness, as if releasing the need for revenge means the person who caused the pain somehow wins. But in reality, letting go is not about giving in. It's about breaking free. It is not an act of weakness, but one of wisdom, strength, and deep emotional intelligence. When someone hurts you, it's natural to hold on. We replay the situation in our heads, analyze every word, wonder why it happened, and imagine what we'd say if we ever got the chance to make them feel the same. But the truth is, every second we spend holding onto that anger keeps us tied to the past. The pain becomes part of our identity. Our thoughts become dominated not by our future, but by someone else's mistake. And that's exactly what letting go sets us free from the power we give others to continue shaping our lives long after the moment has passed. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It doesn't mean you let that person back into your life or ignore the impact they had. It means you've decided to stop letting that pain define your actions, your emotions, and your path forward. You are no longer allowing your energy to be consumed by something you cannot change. That's not surrender, it's strategy. It takes immense self-control to choose silence over retaliation, to walk away from drama instead of feeding it, to focus on your goals, your healing, your purpose, when everything inside you wants justice. But here's the paradox. When you no longer seek revenge, you regain control. You're no longer driven by what they did, but by who you want to become. And in that clarity, you begin to build something no one can take from you: your peace. Letting go is also about self-respect. You decide that your mental and emotional well-being are worth more than holding a grudge. You stop handing your joy, your potential, your clarity over to someone who has already shown you how little they valued your trust. You choose to protect your inner world, and in doing so, you reclaim power. And something unexpected happens when you let go. You grow. You begin to see that healing isn't about them, it's about you. You start making choices based on where you want to go, not where you've been. Your energy, once caught up in resentment, becomes available for creativity, connection, and purpose. In the end, letting go isn't about weakness. It's about strength measured in maturity. It's about valuing your life more than your pain. Because the moment you stop needing revenge, you start needing peace. And that shift changes everything. That's when you realize the best revenge was never revenge at all. It was freedom.